Hey, this is Frank Yosa, CEO of Ketone, and I've got a little bit of COVID hair. My wife and family decided to do everyone's hairdo, so they bleached mine blonde. Anyhow, today I want to talk about ketone meters and testing your ketones, when to test them endogenously, when to test them exogenously. So, first of all, when you drink exogenous ketones, just keep in mind that your body is not just magically burning fat and making ketones. It's not how it works. That's a misleading one-liners that other companies like to say. They like to say, hey, you're drinking this and you're in ketosis. Well, depends how you define ketosis. If you define ketosis as ketones in your blood, yeah, sure. But if you define ketosis as your body burning ketones, then that's not how it works. So when you drink ketones, they will show up in your blood. And when you drink a ketone ester, if you want to test it multiple times, you would test it at the 15-minute mark, 30, 45, and 60. And I guess you could also test at a 2-hour mark if you want to really see a full curve. But the peak usually is around 40, 45 minutes would be the peak. Now, some people get concerned with, they say, oh, well, the ketones peaked and then they, went down really fast. But the ketones don't really do anything when they're in your blood. They don't make your blood thinner, redder, stuff like that. It's when they leave the blood and go to the brain, the muscles, and to the cells, where it goes to the different parts of the body, that's when the benefit starts to happen. So don't worry so much. And some people say, oh, I need to drink more and more just to keep my numbers up, or someone said that I need to keep my numbers at this therapeutic level, the super high level. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think you can have it once, twice, maybe 3 times a day, but you don't necessarily have to keep that super high number. So as long as you hit it with that peak, you should be able to compare how you feel at that peak, and that's all that matters, not necessarily whether it goes down. Now, you also want to make sure to do it on an empty stomach. Empty stomach is really key. All the studies that where they skip that step and don't do it on an empty stomach, just the ketones drastically slow down. So you can take a lot more of it, which costs a lot more money, or you can make it more cost effective. And people say, well, how much time? Well, the more the better. So if you do it after an overnight fast and you wait a couple hours and then take ketone ester, that's one of the best times to take it. So you don't necessarily take it immediately after waking up, because then you're already groggy. You'll wake up, get to baseline, and then take it at that point. That's the ideal time, but I know that's just not practical in some people's lives with breakfast or wanting to eat breakfast. If you skip breakfast, that's fine as well. But back to the ketone meter. So if you want to test for endogenous ketones while taking exogenous ketones, it's pretty tricky, because the ketone meter tests for blood beta hydroxybutyrate, and it won't be able to distinguish between what your body has made and what you've made. What the body has made and what you've drank from the ketone ester. And this is what is a little bit frustrating for my wife, because she sometimes goes in and out of being keto, and she's confused with, well, how much of it was based on what I ate and how much of it was based on the ketone ester. So that can be a little bit confusing. So if you take it first thing in the morning, the ketone ester should be completely out of your system. So then you'll be able to test endogenously and say, hey, what did I eat last night? Oh, wow, my numbers are low. Maybe I had a little bit too much beans or carbs. Maybe I'll adjust it a little bit more. Or I ate a little bit too late at night. And you can make your adjustments based on the success of what your meter is. Now, don't use urine strips. Urine strips don't work. They test what is being excreted by your body as opposed to what's being used by the body with the blood. There's a couple of companies. You got Keto Mojo, KetoCoachX.com, and then I guess there are a couple other ones, but some of them are super expensive with $4 strips. But those are the main two right now that most people are using. So you want to test your blood. Now, some people will test their stuff once, 3 times a day, every day. But for the most part, I think you just want to get a pattern of what you eat and how you feel and where you are in the morning, and then you can go from testing every other day to once a week. But some people like to test every day. Instead of using a scale, they want to use the blood meter. Hey, that's that works as well. As far as the ideal range, people talk about 0.5 to 1.5. I don't fully understand why they say when your numbers are higher that's actually detrimental, especially for weight loss in particular. I don't fully understand that, so I don't like to make up stuff when I don't understand it. So the ideal range is supposed to be 0.5 to 1.5. But you will get much higher if you are doing fasting, multi-day fasting, 66-hour fast. That's what they do over at Speed Keto and Completely Keto. It's like a course that a lot of people have really liked. So as far as testing your ketones, when you're trying to see whether the endogenous ketones work, you would do that again at the peak would be 45 minutes, and you won't be able to know unless you take a baseline number. You want to take a number before you take your ketones. So if you're already at 0.5 or 1.0, and then you take your ester, and then 45 minutes later you test, you want to be looking at the delta, the difference between your baseline and where it went to, because you don't want to count the stuff that's already in your system endogenously. I think that's it. So let me know if you have any questions. Frank@ketoneaid.com. It's not required to get a meter. Some people say, oh, well, I want to have a meter so I can correlate what I feel with the number of ketones in your blood. Yeah, you could do that, but you could just as easily correlate the amount that you drank of ketone ester with how you feel. So some people like 5 mLs of KE4, some people like 15 mLs, and more is not necessarily always better. So you can take different amounts and then bring it back to the ketone number, then correlate it to that, or just correlate how you feel based on the numbers. All right, hope that helps.